It's me restarting. What's up, Iraq? Hey, Tony. Working. Working. I'm working on pages right now. Kuratoga is a ripoff. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just just getting in some doodles and some. I've been drawing on the computer all night, so I kind of want to just draw something fun, or what I'm drawing is fun too, but something simple because my brain's being challenged tonight. Let's see. Breathe. Yeah, trying to. I just took on some extra work and probably shouldn't have done it, but no, I should have done it. Just getting my brain ready. That's how it's going to be from now on, so I think you guys can see that okay. I'm using my tripod again. Excited about this new little gadget. I want to restart my machine again. I'm having terrible time, and I uploaded Yosemite to my iMac, and my Photoshop has not been the same since. And I'm a little torqued, but whatever. I hate Apple now. Boy, do I hate Apple. It's late, so I'm whining. I'm watching Born Legacy in the background. Great movie. Or maybe people don't like it, but I like it. Who is this guy? Sinestro. Okay, I could do that. Let's see. You've been having a tough time with Apple these past few days. Yeah, I'm very disappointed with the Apple company now. God rest his soul, but Mr. Jobs was keeping that thing going. I hate to say it like that, but it just seems weird. My printer doesn't work the way it used to. I updated my drivers. Still no go. Not happy. Not a happy camper. Especially since computer's a big part of my process. So, it's not that I can't use it. It's inefficient right now, and it should be more efficient than it is. Oh, that's great. Iraq, you remind me of somebody else on here. You ever heard of a guy named Kermit? You have a very similar sense of humor. All right. Yes. Yeah, you guys hang out or something? Because you guys are cut from the same cloth. Sinestro. He needs some wicked hair. This is a shaved Sinestro. Looks like pictures of my dad when he was a kid. Yeah. When he catches me, he does the same thing with me. He drives me crazy. He's the spastic ADD guy if there ever was one. I think Sinestro has a mustache like this, right? It's funny you guys asked for Sinestro. I drew that Green Lantern yesterday because I was watching that cartoon. So yesterday I drew that? I think it was yesterday. This is the animated animated feature of First Flight. I thought it was pretty damn good. So it got me all pumped up for GL. And here I'm drawing Sinestro tonight. I got a chance to watch Mark Brooks, his first. If you guys get a chance to, please watch that. Mark Brooks. I'm not sure what else he goes by. I think it's just Mark Brooks. He is great, and I checked out his. He was doing a cover for Ant-Man. That's not out for a few months, but man, it was great to watch someone work that way. Smart guy too. Oh, okay, that's cool. Kermit's a good guy. I like him. He's a good guy. He makes me giggle. Yeah, it was just really long. That's the only downside, I guess, to Periscope. I know I've done some long videos, but if Eric Canetti's a great example. I love watching him, but once you kind of get in there, he's not a lot changes. So, or it's a slow process. So you kind of just the results come later than you probably were planning on spending time here for. Yeah, I do the same thing. That's why I feel like this is almost like a drink and draw, because you can kind of listen and look over. Only downside, he was so into the art that he couldn't answer all the questions, and but he kept his word. He went back. He told me that he recognized my name, but he couldn't remember where he saw it from. So he asked me to contact him on Facebook, and I did. And talking about Mark Brooks, he's a nice guy, real nice guy. This is pretty decent Sinestro. I gave him this extra wingtip there. I like to do that with him. All right, how about? So I'm kind of like on a break, if you will. I've been drawing all night. I'm going to draw something that I want to draw. But do you doodle digitally also, or better on paper? I do draw both. I don't know. I think I'm always going to prefer analog or paper because it's portable and easily portable. Computers are portable these days, but I can easily go anywhere with a pad and paper. Then again, you got to sharpen pencils a lot. Then again, I can draw with a pen. Then again, blah blah blah. All right. How about it's just a headshot. A little. What the hell is going on here? I don't like mechanical pencils anymore. I used to use the hell out of them. Actually, I still keep some, but I don't like the way they I think part of it is because I fell in love with these colored pencils, and so I don't really need the mechanical pencil anymore like I used to. I prefer to draw. I like seeing it in color like this, and then I can ink it, and it seems to kind of work. But as far as any tips for learning to draw, Tony? You should never ask me that question. I'm always going to tell you the same answer. It's the whole 10,000 hours You know, it was cool to listen to Mark affirm that in his video. That it's just the act of drawing will yield lessons that you can't even begin to appreciate what you will learn just from doing it until you've gone through the process and found that, oh, a happy discovery, like, oh yeah, that was cool, that's how you do that, or whatever. But there are some things you can do that a good kickstart to get you thinking about drawing differently, I think, is some good books. I'm a big fan of the art of books, like The Art of Such and Such Movie. The Art of Kung Fu Panda is a great book. The Art of Mulan is a great book. You know, it depends on what you're looking for as far as drawing too. Because if you're thinking just like style, you know, that's going to come along as you continue to draw. If you're worried about, you know, theory and construction, well, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way is still one of my favorite books. People laugh at that, but I still love it. Yeah, I still, yeah, you're right. I still use it to this day. I don't use it as often because I don't need it for as many. All right, thanks, man. Right on. Godspeed. I don't need it for some of the things that it teaches, but I just like to learn. There's a series of books I would recommend highly that is a lot more comprehensive than what do you call it? How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, but it's a little bit crazy because it's books by this man named Andrew Loomis. If you can get anything like that, that would be ideal. I'm trying to reposition my camera, guys, so I can draw a little more. His information is incredible, but it's also very dense information. It's a lot to take to absorb. And he does the best that he can to give you something to work from, but it is hard sometimes. Why does my camera do this so much? We're having a hard time focusing. Why is that? Oh Lord, let me see. Let me adjust. Oh, why are people crying in the movie? Is it Periscope or is it just the camera? I don't know. For some reason, I can focus on certain things and other things I just can't. Come on. Yeah, it's not letting me do anything. And doesn't that suck for you guys? You can't see nothing. I might just pick it up again in a second. The camera, that is. The phone. Let me see. Maybe I do this. Does that help at all? Focus on that. I don't know. Bear with me. Please. Small above. That's a good thing. How about a penny? Would a penny work? Oh, well, look at that. Well, sort of. I agree. That said, yeah, it might be too close. Wasn't anticipated. I didn't have any trouble before. Actually, the Sinestro came out pretty decent. The video of that. Here we go. I love that. I love Periscope for that. It's a fast way to communicate with those guys that you admire, guys or gals, and you get to ask those questions, and hopefully they respond right away. But it could be a drag too, because sometimes you're answering the same question over and over again. One of the comments I made earlier today was, it's unfortunate how sometimes we don't take advantage of this opportunity. One of the reasons why I don't even, I don't know, this might sound a little weird, so please forgive me. One of the reasons why I don't make a big deal out of like meeting a favorite artist sometimes is because if I don't have anything to say or contribute to a conversation, I don't want to seem foolish just going, yeah, man, that's cool. And then that's it. That's cool. Hey man, you're cool. So I try to, I have this mantra in my life. I say I want whatever I do to be meaningful. So even my interactions with people that I admire, I don't want them thinking I'm just another dude who doesn't really, doesn't know how to communicate or anything like that. I don't know what I'm drawing here. I think I'm drawing just a goon, just one of the many bad guys that Buscema always gave me. Another fanboy, yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a fanboy, I suppose. I thought about Kilowog. I'll get to him in a second. Being a fanboy is fine, but I'm at that point in my career. I've been, I want people to take me seriously, and so if you want people to take you seriously, you gotta take yourself seriously, And I don't know. I met Joe Madureira last year at New York Comic Con. And by met, I mean I bought a print from him. You see what I'm saying? That right there kind of redefines the whole thing. Oh, I met him. No, I didn't. I gave him my money, and he barely had time to talk to me. It's not his fault. But that wasn't a meaningful conversation. There wasn't any real dialogue happening there. And then what am I going to ask him? Hey man, how did you draw so cool? That's. I hope that when I can meet someone like that, I'll have more to say. Also, when you start feeling better about your work, you start to have more confidence, and then it's not about that person's work anymore. It's just about another personality, another human being that you know. That's probably how it ought to be anyway. So someone earlier when I was posting here, they were asking about process. But you know what? It depends though. Like, now, okay. So when I do quote unquote meet these people, I like to go with really. I'm trying to gather as much reference material as I can. So the great thing about the con is you get to actually meet that artist and then directly purchase work from him or her and really start to build out your library of cool inspiration. So that's one of my favorite things about the cons is I don't know, before I always seem to spend more money than I make the first day just on goodies, whether it's someone's art book, whatever. Anybody here ever considered trying this guy named Noah University? I want to try that. That's this guy named Noah Elias. I think his name is Noah Elias. Onto paper and stop using reference. I find it really hard. The only way I've been able to do is because I have a working morgue file in my head. I've drawn these things so many times that when I start to draw them, I don't need reference anymore. But like this. I mean, how many times have you guys seen me draw this pose on the head? Notice this is the same one as Sinestro. I mean, I just keep drawing the same thing over and over again. So it's back to that 10,000 hours, to be honest. Because that's when there's no trick. There's no easy button for your brain. You have to let your brain do what it does, recall what it can recall. And if you don't have enough information in there to recall, then you'll never be able to get anything out of your head. Unless you have if you understand things like general anatomy, but yeah, I mean, for me, it's a matter of having drawn the things that I want to draw, and then or understanding anatomy I'm assuming we're talking about things like anatomy, like figures and stuff like that. Understanding the figure enough to know where to take it. Why did I draw those things there? We're little splashy poos. So yeah, so I'm sorry, there's not a better answer. Probably not the answer you're looking for, but that's probably the right answer. If there was one. Anyway, say this guy's a cool goon. He's a good gangster out of an 80s comic. Or even 70s. Kind of looks like Absorbing Man a little. You got it, man. I'm sorry, man. I wish I could give you better information. Understanding the science of things. How do you conduct yourself professionally as an artist? What do you mean by that? You draw mouths. Help me a lot. Cool. I mean, I guess that's the other benefit of having these sessions. You're seeing me draw what it is you may have a question about, and that enhances your knowledge base as well. It's just what we would good old fashioned studying, you know. I remember they used to say study whatever it is to study. I remember not really understanding what that meant, but now I study. You're trying to draw miles today. All right. Yeah. You know, the more you look at images and you kind of you're trying to understand how it works. Start with that. I also say to people, try not to draw, like, one of the things that I've done, that a lot of people have done, or I see people do, is I want to practice drawing heads and then you just draw Batman. I'm in that right now. I sort of know what study means, but I don't. So hands and mouths. For like a month. Okay, good. So I guess it just comes to experience. Yes, experience that's the short answer, right? Experience. That's what 10,000 hours means. Yeah, spending that time drawing. I'm sorry, I missed the first point. That was a good point. I find as far as conducting, in a way where people take your work seriously, but you don't come. I mean, I'm assuming like coming across silly, standoffish or awkward. Okay. Well, I gotta tell you. I'll tell you a little story about my early days at the job I work at. I've been working at this company for almost 20 years. And early on, I had a mentor. I didn't know he was my mentor then, but he really was. And he's one of my favorite people on the planet now. His name is Ron Watson. Anyway, Ron would teach me things. See, don't. That's what I was going to say earlier. Don't draw Deadpool. Just draw hands, and then you can draw hands on anyone. Otherwise, you'll always associate that with a particular guy or not. Anyway, the story goes that this guy was telling me, when you go to these meetings, the only problem with my mentor is that he had a hard time communicating sometimes ideas that were a little abstract. So I have to really work hard to figure out what he was saying, to interpret what he was trying to interpret for me. Anyway, so he tells me, you need more conviction in your work. So I went to these meetings, and I would go to the next meeting. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be convicted about my work. I totally misunderstood what he was saying. I took it as I'm going to act like I'm the Mac, or I'm in charge. I'm going to be totally convicted. And he would say, well, how does this artwork, whatever, how does this work within the parameters of the assignment? I'm like, because it does, because this and this and that. And I didn't know what the heck I was talking about. The reason why I bring up that story is because, you're asking, how do you conduct yourself? A professional is not someone who knows everything. A professional is someone who knows as much as he or she can know, and then if they don't know it, they know how to get the information. Does that make sense? So it's not really about how much you know, but when you are confident in something, it's much easier for you to relate to others because you have a strong sense of yourself when you do that. So it makes the interaction process much more much smoother, if you will. You're not worrying about. You don't have to worry about being professional, because being a professional is being someone who's being excellent, and excellence isn't always 100% knowledge. It's knowledge that recognizes its limitations and goes after the information when necessary. So yeah. So a lot of people, they misunderstand that, and they want to be bold. And what he was really telling me, by the way, as far as the conviction, was that when you really feel good about what you're doing, you're going to be ready to talk about it regardless. And there's not going to be a need for you to fake the funk, because you're going to be so confident in what you did, because you know that you followed the rules. You were paying attention to details. You did your homework. All those great cliches that basically mean you did what you had to do to get the work done, and you know how you got there. The same mentor used to tell me, those who know how will always have a job. Those who know why will always be their boss. Let me repeat that. That's a great quote. Think about it. Those who know how will always have a job. Those who know why will always be their boss. Because knowing why something is done, why it works, is way better than just mechanically going through the motions and doing a thing. So anyway, that's me soapboxing again. I should change my Periscope name to Soapbox. Cool, man. It has served me well over the years. That little nugget, man. It's like when you know what you're doing, why you're doing it, no one can stop you. You're unstoppable, because you have a purpose, and you know where you fit, right? But if all you're doing is faking it and trying to impress people, man, that's the first thing that people know right off the bat. Oh, this guy's just faking it. What I find interesting is how many people still try to fake it, acting like nobody knows. My pencils, this pencil, someone asked me about how long these last. This is my favorite pencil to work with. Is actually this particular color as well, indigo blue, and the Color-Erase Prismacolor pencils. They're erasable color pencils. They're great. The only downside is they go dull quickly. So if you're like me, where you need a sharp point, just keep a good pencil sharpener handy. Excuse me. Sorry. Little bio concern issues. Let's see. How about a thing? The Noah thing you spoke of, what exactly? What? I can't see that question. Heard that quote before, but it's great to hear it again as a reminder. Bless you. Thank you. Noah Bradley is not Noah Bradley. Noah Elias. Bradley's a completely different guy. Very different guy. Noah Elias has this thing. He's an illustrator who's done a lot of work for like Disney, and just a ton of clients that I admire. I admire him for it, and he actually has like a mentoring program, but you have to pay into. And I'm almost ready to pay for it, because it goes over how to start a business and how to expand your base. By the way, when I was answering the question earlier, it could be. I was speaking in terms of feeling good about what you're doing, because some people think that, well, if I go into something, I can't tell you how many times that I've reviewed portfolios, or thankfully not many have done this to me, but I'm always concerned when people are like, oh, check out my work, and they're showing it because they think they're already there, but in actuality they need to work on some stuff. But they don't want to hear that because they only want to hear, oh yeah, I've arrived, right? I don't know, it's hard, man. One of the toughest things is to develop that critical eye that says, is this thing looking like like it fits? Mark Brooks was talking earlier about, when people were asking about getting a job in anything. I just started getting involved in comics, but in anything, doesn't matter if it's comics or T-shirts or ad agency. You have to look at your work objectively and be able to say, this will work, and this compares, and this how does this thing, whatever the work is, how does it rate? How is it compatible with what's out in the marketplace? Because in the end, you're trying to develop something that someone wants to buy or consume, whether it's they want to purchase it, they want to look at it, or whatever it is that you're trying to do. You're wanting their attention, so you may as well, give it all you got, and then look at it and say, is this really working? So I used to look at my stuff, and I would compare it to what's on the rack. And I would literally take my sketchbook out and look at my art and say, okay, I learned how to draw a hand today, but look what else is on the rack on that shelf. There's all kinds of stuff on there that I can't draw. And so, can I draw faces? Sure. But man, eventually though, you start to realize, I mentioned this earlier, there are patterns in everything we do. So then you start thinking, okay, well, drawing backgrounds or drawing this or drawing that is just employing some of the same principles that I would apply in anything else that I've mastered. So then you can eventually get over that hump. But the toughest part is getting that critical, objective eye that knows the difference between good and bad. Unfortunately, in art, nobody wants to think there's anything bad. There is bad art. Drawing poses fluently, I make them look stiff than when I initially wanted to be asked. Are you asking me for advice on that? If you're drawing figures, I would say, that's a great question, man. The thing that helped me the most in figure drawing was not comic books, because believe it or not, a lot of the guys that we all like are very stiff. I'll give you an example. Jim Lee, as exciting as his work is, his poses tend to be, they're dynamic enough, but they're exciting to look at. But he tends to have very stiff poses because they're just kind of already, he has his 10,000 hours put in for sure. And and if you like someone's work that way, it's fine, by the way, because I love Jim Lee's work. But I pay a lot of attention to the animation guys, guys that really, I would tell you, like Jeff Wamster from I think he's at Warner Brothers. He might be at Film Roman, but Chris Copeland is fantastic. J. Scott Campbell is really good. Only thing is he's actually really good. He has a good handle on the human form, especially the female form. But so yeah, he's good. But I'm telling you, there's people in the animation field that I think are superior. I mean, I like J. Scott's style tremendously. I'm one of his biggest fans. But for learning, it's kind of cool to go to the guys that are experts, or they've taught themselves to become experts on how to make the physical form move. Then you can start talking about having some cool stuff. I do these things that I learned from a buddy when I was doing storyboarding. They called 10-second sketches, and you can kind of imagine this is probably about like an 8 or 9 inch sheet of paper here, 8 by 11, 9 by 12, whatever, and or somewhere in the middle. And so you can see my pencil points, so you can see how large this figure is when I'm drawing it. I'm taking my time here, but I do these 10-second sketches, to loosen myself up. And admittedly, they tend to be comic book poses when I do them, but that has also helped me in storyboarding. But when you start to do these things, you're giving yourself, you're taking yourself away. A lot of the stiffness comes because by the way, I don't know how you draw, but I'm assuming if you're having trouble with stiffness, it's probably because you're getting down and dirty in details before you've given yourself a chance to really explore that form. Best way I learned was figure drawing class. That was a big help for me. Figure drawing, yeah, drawing for life. That was John Buscema's big mantra. But even then, it's good. But those. Every time I look at people's figure drawings, they always look like the same drawings. So, they take that for what it's worth. I'm certainly not going to argue with any of the masters who have done that, but I'm just saying, when I look at people draw in their life drawing books, the poses tend to be just still, like sitting, like someone's just sitting. And that's good to know because, again, that employs principles. Even sitting employs principles that you could use for motion. Yeah, okay, well, what I'm doing right here, just kind of doing quick little sketches of a figure doing something. That's a great way to do it. You keep it small, keep it fast, and let the drawing happen without you forcing it. Anyway, does that make sense? Art professors say not to get too attached in early. Yep, I totally agree. That's been my problem for years. I was too busy trying to develop a style. Someone asked me about that earlier, or maybe they were saying they were working on style. Give us like 20 seconds, 30 seconds in pen. Yeah, pen's great. Yeah, oh gosh, man. You get so bogged down in trying to make something look cool that you end up not doing yourself any good because you're spending all your time on the aesthetic versus the actual principle, the construction. So the look of something is not necessarily as important as knowing how to build it. I see all these things as like these all are skeletons and buildings that have the art itself. If you really pay attention to comic books or anything else, there's only so many punches you can draw. There's only so many running poses. There's only so many flying poses. I'm not saying there's a short number, but the number is finite to be sure. So because of that, the construction of something is important because from there you go and you lay on the facade, or the skin. Think about it like in 3D gaming design. The polygons are what you're using, and that's your game, and then you add on to it the skin. That's how I see it. So I'm sorry, I was thinking about answering the question, and I missed someone in a gray color. You asked me, facial expressions. That was an interesting experience for me too. I had my art career has been a series of epiphanies because I tried to excuse me. Again, animation has been a big component of my development as an artist, and especially in gesture and expression. Yes. I also keep a mirror handy. If you notice, a lot of artists will draw. It's funny. I have to be careful what I say because sometimes I'm just making observations, and people might say I'm stereotyping. But the reality is, you can tell sometimes. Okay, I'll give you an example. And maybe because I'm Puerto Rican, I can say this, so I'll just keep it at that. But I have a friend who he would say that when he grew up around the same time I grew up, and when he would see Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, his artwork, he would say when he saw him drawing Superman, all him and his buddies said were that it was the Mexican Superman. And the reason why is because if you're using yourself as a reference, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna remember things about your own face, and you're gonna put that into the art. Yeah, it sounds wrong, but it makes sense. When I'm like, again, bear with me. If all you draw, if you grow up in an ethnic community, you're probably gonna see the world around you from that vantage point. So sometimes I've seen when I can almost tell you, oh, that's person, or like men and women, like when women draw men, they tend to draw them in general. When comic artists, there's a few that are really good, but a lot of female comic artists will draw a lot of men very feminine. I met someone who really fooled me. I had that pegged, and I'm usually right about it, but I got to be honest, I'm not always right, because that's not always the case. This young lady really proved me wrong in that regard. But I'm only using that as an example to say that a lot of my expressions have ended up on my pages. So my eyebrows tend to be a little sharp on the corner. My nose is a little bit hooked, like a yeah. Well, you know what, Loomis, it's if you're talking about drawing that stuff anyway. Yeah. If you're drawing that stuff, you want to learn how to draw just a general construction. Loomis does a great job of going into that with it. I think it's called Heads and Figures or something like that is the book. By the way, a lot of his books have been republished. Otherwise, over the years, I've managed to, when they weren't published, I had a collection of them in PDF. I don't know what those are anymore, but if you get to read Loomis, check him out. But he does a great job of kind of, Scott Campbell does something similar. He does this thing. Check this out. Look like the artist. That's an observation I've made. Yeah, that's because of that. You draw what you know, right? So I've made it a point to try to, personally, I try to draw, like, you guys know John Byrne, Jim Lee is this way too. They draw, if you notice Jim Lee's, all his characters have a little bit of almost kind of like an Asian look to them. Their eyes tend to be a little sharper, and then whether it's a black guy, a white guy, a Spanish guy, they all look the same. So which, by the way, is nothing wrong with that. That's a really efficient way to get it done. John Buscema has some similar stuff. John Byrne in particular, if you guys follow him, John Byrne, he really, man, he had a formula, man. Talk about every Storm looked just like Jean Grey. Only difference was the color and the from the colorist, and the whether she had an afro or not. That was the only difference. Which is okay, because that's an easy way to get the story out on time. So if you're like me, where you start to fret over that, you're like, oh man, I want to make my ethnic people look ethnic. So, but then you gotta be careful with that these days, because then they say, oh, you're a racist. I'm not a racist. I'm just observing what I see. And that's why I feel like I do a pretty good job with that kind of stuff. I love drawing Luke Cage for that, because I like that kind of that purposeful look that I like to draw him in. Yeah, they are, but it's okay. I'm just sharing with you. Those are the things, as an artist, you have to be observant. You have to pay attention to these details that most people will want to ignore. Yeah, they can be sensitive, but if you really want to improve, you have to look for those things. I mean, that's part of our job. I used to do caricatures. What was I going to say about Jay Scott? Nothing. He's good. He's great because his work is a little derivative of a couple of artists that I love as well. He's definitely a fan of his name is escaping me all of a sudden. The guy that used to work at Disney. I was thinking about that. Oh yeah, not Brett Booth, Don Bluth. Don Bluth. You could tell he loved that stuff, and you can tell that Jay Scott's a big fan of Mort Drucker and Jack Davis, the caricaturist from Mad Magazine. He has a lot of very similar style. He uses a lot of his visual cues he gets from those guys, I've noticed. Anyway, yeah, I mean, if you're going to be an artist, you've got to be aware. You've a good artist. Anyone can be an artist, but a good artist is aware, is paying attention to his atmosphere, his environment. He knows the difference between left and right. And that's one of the reasons why I think we have such an interesting and unique role in the community that we live in. Because, you know, if I'm going to make you look like somebody, I have to pay attention to things that maybe you want to ignore. That's why I love doing caricatures. Because the ultimate premise in caricature is that you're pointing out things that maybe that person doesn't want to be seen or noticed. What do you call it? So to get either something that resembles a person. Like, you ever notice when I live in Tampa, so I get to visit Busch Gardens, and when I see the caricaturists out there, it's so fun because, you know, a buddy of mine used to one of my best friends. He was one of the main caricaturists at Busch Gardens, and he just verified everything I observed. Sometimes I find myself staring at people's faces or features, just thinking of how to draw them exactly. Anyway, because you're looking at, like, what makes that person look unique. In a world where nobody wants to look at the differences, it makes for a very vanilla world. It's funny how we have no one wants to look at the differences. Everything's in the middle. But when you do it like that, then there's no variety. So it's nothing wrong with differences. It's only wrong when you're holding something against someone because of that difference. That's foolish. But anyway, like, you know, noses. I mean, think about the variety of noses there are. There's a, like, my kind of nose. If you've ever, and I'm not even sure it's this heroic looking, but this is basically my nose. That's what I always draw on my guys. And there's these kinds of noses where it's more bulbous. There's the female nose, which tends to be a cute nose. That's the idealized cute nose. But then there's people that have the long nose. You know. Anyway, those are just various. Again, I'm soapboxing. Sorry. So yeah, that's kind of. I hope you guys like this. I like. This is for me a good way to either wind up or wind down, warm up or wind down. Well, you know, I don't want to. I certainly don't mean to offend anyone if I do, but I'm not speaking about any of this from a vantage point of judgment. I'm only saying these things in terms of developing a critical eye. Again, means that you're observing and you're understanding the differences. When you have the differences understood, then you can manipulate that. Then, you know, there's some people have larger noses, some people have shorter noses and whatever, and you know when to employ those tricks and when not to. And then if you don't need to, one of my favorite artists is Hergé, the guy that did all those Tintin comics. That whole simple line thing is huge for me because I feel like that is a great, man. I'll tell you what. Once I started to look at Bruce Timm, I can honestly say that Bruce Timm was probably the biggest, has had the biggest impact on me. And it's not that he's always necessarily my favorite artist, although he is one of them. It's that he broke me out of all this, like, super detail. Like, everybody's trying to draw all the detail they can, and I know that I do too. So don't take this the wrong way. But holy cow, man, he really broke down just so they can get, because it's efficiency is what they're looking for in animation. So let's simplify the form to this bare minimum so you can communicate it easily for animation. Yeah, usually it's less is more, not just sometimes. Um, so are you guys aware of a guy named Chris Somney? And it is Somni because he said in his blog, he says it sounds like Omni. Anyway, he's another one, man. His name is Chris, and then Samnee. Let's see, whoever one was. The silhouettes, yeah, oh yeah. But even like, here's a Bruce Timm thing that I loved. Let me show you. Hopefully, I have space on this page to do it. Let's do it here. Switch my light a little bit. So, when you draw an arm, I do this a lot in my thumbnails. Notice that Batman had this thing going on. They're right there. That's it. Shoulder, the indentation for where the elbow is, the meat of the forearm. Boom. That's it. That's all you need. Little slice there for your bicep. That's it. Done. Shoulder to tricep to elbow, forearm to wrist to fist. That's it. That's it. And when Batman punches, if his arm is doing something different, you reverse it for whatever the pose is. But man, what a great breakthrough that was for me, because I was like, man, I finally can kind of see that plainly and clearly versus, okay, I got to draw this muscle, and I'm going to draw, this is the deltoid, and this goes into the tricep and the bicep, and make sure you put this here. Are there veins here? And then there's this. And then before you know it, you've drawn an arm, but everything else is like crap. So this right here, though, gives you an opportunity to say, okay, let me just move and groove through this artwork and get that idea out of my head. Someone was asking earlier about getting these ideas out of your head. Draw fast. That's a great way to do it. Just draw fast. Don't hesitate too much. Spit it out. You see two shapes from that. What shapes do you see? Oh, please don't be dirty. What do you see? Chicken leg? Yeah. So then you have this too. This is also here's the chest, right? Here's Superman's chest. Again, there, boom, boom, boom. That's it. Oh, I'm sorry, I was off camera. Top of the chest, rounds down. This cuts in, down, and of course, you see what I'm saying? Good. I'm glad. I really want, I'm not as exciting an artist as maybe the Eric Canettis or whatever, but I hope that I can bring some sort of intelligence to the conversation. So there goes that arm. So you see, Bruce Timm really helped me a lot. On his faces, you see me all night, you've been seeing me draw these things. I mean, right here, you can say, I learned this from Bruce Timm. Can you see that? Oh, hold on. Oh, the ovals. Yeah, pretty much. Watch this. I mean, this is the Bruce Timm method. I just studied it a lot. And this is probably Bruce Wayne. Can you guys recognize that from Bruce Timm stuff? I mean, I'm not perfect, but I'm just saying that's essentially the gist of it. This could have been Lex Luthor. Yeah, so it's you start off with a circle, you come off the eye where the eye line is for the top of the cheekbone, come down straight. It's a simplification of the form. It's abstract, but it's also very readable. Yeah, there you go. Batman. Done. That just happened in your presence. Right? So a lot of this is getting your forms. You see, I've been using it here on these small sketches. Getting forms, right? Keeping it simple, these are small 10-second sketches about the size, about an inch or an inch and a half tall. I can add more detail to a form and get something more like what we see here with this guy. You know, there's a lot more detail in there. Or I can simplify it here and just give you a little bit of detail. We can go real deep and go angular, like Ivan Rice and Jim Lee. Yeah, John Buscema. I mean, you can see Gary Frank does some of the same stuff. It's all the same principles. And so, like I said, the principles are all sound. As long as the principles are sound, everything else is gravy. It's just icing on the cake. I should also be called Mr. Cliche. Well, look, you draw a circle. This is I think this is what you were going to tell me. You were asking about Jay Scott. Yeah, if you look at his sketchbook, I just remember when I drew this. He does it really simple. Watch this. So you cut your sphere in half, right? I'm choosing to do it as a curved 3/4 angle because that's the most exciting angle to me. All right, now he'll doing this eye line here, right? So here's your eye line. This is the middle of the face. All right. He, in his, what was it called? The Danger Girl sketchbook, I observed this. He slices this piece off, which is right out of Andrew Loomis. And he slices this piece off. And that's the side of those are the temples of your head right here. So here's the eye. So watch. There's the brow. Whatever. There's the eye. And then from here, it's you're just breaking down that form in a more understandable way. Someone asked me earlier I should do a basics class. I guess this is it. And I had the nerve to say I don't have the time for it. Here I am, blowing off my work so I can draw Bruce Timm stuff. But I love it though. Bruce Timm freed me. He freed my soul. It basically it made me realize I don't have to draw, every eyelash on this guy's eye. I can simplify. Like this is a cool eye, right? I'm not gonna lie. This is a cool eye. This is nice. It's pleasing, right? I draw pretty well. This kind of stuff. All right, cool, done. There's some eyelashes there, whatever. All right. Or I like what I learned from some of the old school guys. There you go. If it's a woman's eye, there you go. See, it is style, but one's efficient and one allows me to move on in my illustration. This is a good foundation. Maybe I'll end up here, but if you start with this first, you are bound to be stiff. You're bound to be, you're going to use tricks to try to fool people, and usually you can't fool people like that. Let me draw some more. So if I'm drawing anything else, for that matter, well, I can show you some of the drawings in here. I'm going to show you. I've already drawn them, I guess, so I won't keep drawing. But I have all these sketches in this book. Some of you guys may have recognized some of this stuff from my Instagram. But you can see all the same stuff. I'm using, I have the circle shape, and there's the Bruce Timm V shape for women. For a while, I was really getting down on these angular. How many hours do I spend a day drawing for your comics? Well, I'm drawing at night, my comics. I spend most of my day art directing. I art direct for the Harley Davidson brand and a licensed apparel company. But I draw this stuff all the time. I always have a drawing pad with me. You can ask my wife. Always, always, always. I keep my book bag with me all the time. How did I get interested in apparel design? I didn't. I stumbled into that job. Thank you. But you see, I'm using all the same things. So here, look. I use all the same angles and planes and the shape of the head. The only difference was I extended the head to make the leader, because that's part of his design. And there you go. That's all you. Once you have the basic parts, as I've been saying all night, once you have the basic principles in place, you can bend the rules later. Well, good job, Dom. I had one once a long time ago, and it didn't do very well. But I've been encouraged to do another one, so I shall soon. Let me show you some more here. This is a favorite page of mine too. I was playing around with some Spider-Man gesture stuff. You can kind of see, the same idea. Stupid camera. Hulk I'm still employing. I always keep a moleskin sketch, but yes, whatever. I for a long time I would just take copy paper from my job with scrap or whatever, and I would fold it in half and keep that in my pocket for a long time. I made my own moleskin before there was moleskin. There were moleskines. Why can't you see this thing? It doesn't make any sense. Oh, I hate it. There you go. So this is a reimagining of Batman's costume. Thank you very much. There's Robin looking all smug. Hal Jordan trying another idea. Well, hopefully you can make it out now. It's not that blurry, is it? Superman. Over here I was trying to do a Flash concept. Yeah. Let's see. I'm just trying to show you guys that the same principle. Now I'm drawing something alien, something a little more creepy or whatever. There it is. It's the same ideas. This little Vandal Savage type look there. Some kind of weird fish guy. I have a Cthulhu, I am the law, the judge himself. Come on. Capture that image, please. Anyway, it's not working right now. Same principle. You see there's the angles, the planes. You can almost see my construction lines there. There's another female. All right. A little storm. A Storm and Norman. Oh, I'm glad. Thank you, man. And I'm sorry that I don't mean to keep you guys up. I'm just in the middle of my own pages right now. A little Venom. I took a drawing class, just to get practice my perspective. More loose drawings, just staying loose. There go some more 10-second sketches. There's more. See all throughout. Right on, man. I'll be up for later than that. Oh, I love this drawing of Wonder Woman. I don't know why. I can't repeat it, though. That's the only thing. It's no good if I can't repeat it, but I like this one. This was like I meant to do Catwoman, and it came out looking like Angelina Jolie. Never intended it, but that's what happened. It's too bad it was not coming. There you go. That's supposed to be voodoo. Let me see. Oh, I like that drawing too. That's a good profile of a female form. I got some Batman Beyond, a little bit of Cap. Mr. Diablo. I don't know who he is. He's different. This is some lettering. So some of those same principles work in lettering, He's just trying to get, it's all about form. Let's see. These were some, yeah, you're right. A little bit of both there. So this is when I was trying to do just general construction of just figures and them hanging out, flying, dancing, running. Let's see. Yeah, it was a project I never finished in the class. So anyway, Yeah. Well, again, it can be repeated if you remember your principles, your precepts in your art, and you just keep that as the foundation for whatever you do. That'll always yield you results. It's just I don't remember how I did that day. I wasn't really following a principle. I mean, obviously I was, because I was, it's all there. It looks good. That's the important thing. It looked good. But now that's the next trick, right? Okay, I can draw Wonder Woman great once, but now I have the Wonder Woman job. How do I draw her the same every time? That is tricky. So then that just means you have to come up with some new principles, some new precepts and laws that you're going to abide by every time you draw her. That's kind of what I'm trying to explain. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. I got to get back to drawing. I appreciate it. I hope it was fun for you. I hope you got something out of it. Like I said, if nothing else, that's all I want. At least want to serve you guys with that. Please remember to follow me on Instagram at Jerkmonger. Also on Facebook, I post. If you are on Tumblr, I'm Jerkmonger on Tumblr, but you're going to get most of what's on Instagram. But you're welcome, guys. And thank you very much for hanging out. So God bless you guys. I'll talk to you guys sometime this weekend. Peace.